What's up, Diablo 4 players? So big update coming out in just 4 days for Season 5. We're getting a lot of hot fixes, we're getting some buffs, but a massive nerf to the Sorceress. And let's talk about that. But the most important thing I want to tell you guys right now, do not do the Beast in Ice because you're not getting the correct rewards for the Pincushion Dulls. Then you would use those to do the Tormented Andariel, meaning that you're getting essentially less materials to get some of those Mythic Uniques. Now, if you don't need the Mythic Uniques, I guess that's not that big of a deal, but that is something that will be updating later down the line, and certain skills and aspects are not actually functioning correctly, and we're going to get this update very soon. It's actually coming out on the 20th, so that's when this patch comes out. So it's August 20th. Now there is another update, and I want to go over this real quick because it's just a really quick note. It is a massive nerf to the Sorceress. The best build in the game right now is getting nerfed. So this is actually already out. This was a post last night, so I'm posting it in here since we're doing the updates anyways. So what it is the aspect of the Splintering Energy, which is the top tier Sorceress build. If you look at the unofficial leaderboard, the Sorceress is dominating with this build, so they are nerfing it. So they are also buffing it, so let's talk about it. So for starters, it says damage increase from 25 to 50 to 50 to 80. That's a buff. But the Splintering Energy will arc to additional enemies less frequently. This is a nerf, and it is a pretty big nerf. However, I was seeing how people felt about this nerf over here, and there's kind of mixed signals here. And I want to go ahead and play two videos that can kind of maybe highlight it from two other Diablo partners, so you guys can maybe get an idea on what this nerf is doing. But again, we're getting mixed feedback here. So I'm going to play a quick little video by Rax, and he's saying
nothing can survive. This is after the patch. I heard some people are saying massive Sorcerer changes. No, I mean you would barely notice the difference.
So he's saying you barely notice a difference. So that's kind of strange because Makuna over here is saying that it's a pretty big nerf. You can see his little Excel sheet over here. He was doing pit 157s, and here's his results from the testing.
That's what I noticed, and on the pits 157, I did a lot of that. I used to clear that in 2 or 3 minutes. Now it's more like 6 or 7 minutes to get to the boss. And
so he's saying it's taking a lot longer to get to the boss. So essentially we're getting kind of mixed signals here because he's saying it results in a 50 to 60% damage loss. That is a pretty massive change. But, I mean, looking at the numbers, I mean, it still seems like it's pretty good. So, I think what's kind of happening with this is depending on what type of content that you're doing, that would affect how you feel about it. If you're doing, like, lower tier content, you may not notice a difference because everything is getting one-shotted anyways. But towards the higher end, that's where it seems to have a little bit of a difference, and you feel that massive nerf over here, even though they're getting a buff, and they are getting another buff, so maybe it will go back to where it is. I'm not really sure why they're changing it. My assumption is it's causing some sort of lag in the game, but the problem is that Makuna says there's still lag with this build, and the reason why is I guess it's hitting too hard. We had the same issue back in a previous season where Ball Lightning was just doing too much damage, and I think that that's why they are trying to adjust it. But starting right off with the big update, now that we went over the Sorcerer's hotfix, because that's already live right now. So basically, again, in the higher end, you may be losing out on a lot of damage, but on the lower end, you may not feel it. So that's why we're getting kind of mixed signals. That's my assumption, but tell me, Sorcs, how you feel about this after the most recent update. But on top of that, they are actually buffing the Infernal hordes, making it easier, by the way, for material rewards. So the Aether is getting basically doubled all around. We're getting, with the Exalted Elite, we're getting double. With Surging Elite, double. Unstoppable Elite, we're getting double. And then the Burning Rain, the end of wave Burning Aether, is getting tripled. So this one is going to be very valuable. You're going to be able to get 3 to 9 instead of 1 to 3. That's pretty good. So basically more materials for us to go ahead and craft with. Now, they're fixing a lot of bug fixes, but I'm going to go ahead and go over the ones that are actually really good. The Alchemist Control Tempering affix for Rogue has been re-enabled because I guess it was disabled. The Flurry Size affix has been removed to Innovation and put into Alchemist Control. So now, I just dropped that build, and I guess you guys are going to have to kind of change over here. And the Ranks of Trick Attacks affix has been removed from the Alchemist Control, which is weird because it wasn't already there. Like, it wasn't in the game anyways. They removed it in the PTR, so I'm not sure how this works because that was one of the OP things which would give you crit chance and damage. But they changed a lot of the tooltips. I'm going to go over again again, the stuff that kind of matters, but like there's certain things not working correctly and it wouldn't display the correct amount of thorns. Not that really that many people are playing thorns, but hey, it is, I guess, getting fixed over there. But the most important thing is actually in the gameplay over here. They fixed where like certain things would spawn inside and you could not complete it. I saw a couple people on Reddit complaining about this, where you would get stuck. That is being fixed, which is great. And the other important things to go ahead and mention here, because it's a bunch of stuff where like certain things weren't working properly. I get it, they're getting fixed. But the more important stuff is like what's actually happening to the builds, right? Because we're going to have some builds maybe come up online. So I already talked about it. Don't do the Beast and Ice if you care about the pincushion dolls. That is pretty important because, yeah, if you're doing the tormented version, you're getting basically 1/5 of the rewards. That's no good. Another thing I want to mention that I think really should just be fixed with having a guy that can salvage all your stuff inside of the tormented bosses. If you guys go in and do a tormented boss, it's very important that you still pick up all the stuff and then you go back to town and then you salvage it. The reason why is if there are too many items on the ground, like most people go in, they only pick up the mythic uniques or the greater affix and they just leave all the trash, or they'll find a corner, throw it all in the corner. Don't do that. The reason why you don't want to do that is because when newer items drop, they will fall through the floor and they just won't appear. So basically, you are literally losing out on potentially mythic uniques if you just put all your trash on the floor. So don't do that until they maybe fix that as well. I just wanted to mention that. This doesn't really matter too much, but this one does matter for people that were actually abusing something. I did it unintentionally though. So I was telling you guys that you could actually get more shade totems. I didn't know how I was doing it. So I guess you could have snapshotted when you were swapping weapons, but it wasn't even like intentional. So I guess when you would swap weapons from like maybe a sword to like whatever would be using like a bow, I think that this could cause it as well, because I wasn't even trying to snapshot by swapping weapons like in my inventory. I think that it was happening when you would go from like your ranged weapon to your melee weapon. I guess that could be causing it. And again, this update isn't happening till later on, but this is something that is kind of important over here. There's actually another bug with the totems where like you can one-shot things, like anything in the game, which is pretty crazy. But there is going to be another thing over here where the number of affixes couldn't roll as a greater affix on certain things. So the Blood Artisan's Course, this will be essentially kind of getting buffed over here. There's also another thing that's getting buffed, which we'll talk about once we get to it. Okay, so these over here. And then this is a buff to the Lightning Spirit, which we just talked about getting a massive nerf. We did get a buff here, and we're going to be getting another buff over on Tuesday. So it's fixing an issue where the Summon Lightning Spirit would not consume the stacks of Crackling Energy or grant the damage bonus increase, which I believe is at X15 bonus damage increase, right, when you pick up the Crackling Energy. So that could actually matter a little bit over there. But on top of that, they fixed an issue where the certain affixes were not affected by masterworking for the following unique items. Oculus, as far as I'm aware of, this isn't going to be like build enabling because it's just too much damage to lose out on. And then there's also Blue Rose, that is for specifically Blizzard. So Blizzard's going to be up. So if you've made that build, it's a pretty cool build too. And then also Storm's Companion, that's going to be for the Druid, the Companion build. We actually already have a build guide on it. It's a pretty fun build. Just going to warn you guys, you got to be spamming that button like crazy. It is not a chill, sit back minion build, but it's essentially going to be buffed over here. And then on top of that, there is something that I wanted to build, but there was a bug with it. So at least on Tuesday, we can finally build it. So Blood Howl is supposed to grant you the ability to stealth when you have the Waxing Gibbous, which gives you 100% crit. Pretty big deal to have 100% crit because the build can rely, if you get enough cooldown, to get 0 crit in your build, and then you can start rolling all these other things, and then, well, you're going to be able to deal a lot more damage. So on Tuesday, we can actually build this. So I'm actually pretty excited. And this is another pretty big bug where if you did, it was specifically also Varshan, where you would do some of the bosses and you couldn't really like do the boss again. I noticed this specifically with Varshan. It just consistently happened. It also happens with Beast and Ice. I think Woody posted a post on that. But basically, when you would go do the boss and you put in the materials, it eats your materials. It's like a coin machine that eats your quarters. You can't get a refund. You can't call anyone over. So it really sucks. But I think that this is kind of fixing it because it says it does not despawn after dying. So you would put in the thing, but then it would not work. So that's hopefully going to be addressed, which is pretty big. So yeah, hopefully we're going to get some new builds to emerge out of this. Like I said, definitely nice to see Blizzard. And then on top of that, Wax and Gibbous can finally be played. So I would say that's going to be, it's probably going to be Blizzard and this was like unplayable because it didn't work at all. But hopefully those will be builds that we could actually mess around with, and we'll see if the meta changes. But honestly, I don't think so. I think the meta is still going to be Lightning Spear for like the best build in the game, even though it's getting like a nerf and a buff in different areas. But let me know, guys, what you think of this patch. Are you excited about it? Is it a win? Is it a loss? I'd say overall it's pretty much a win. I mean, with the exception of Lightning Spear, which got hotfixed, it's probably due to them not wanting the game to like freeze and lag out. So I think it's overall probably better for the game. But still, maybe they need to increase the damage numbers just a little bit so we don't lose out on it. But that's going to go wrap it up. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you want to be up to date, I'll let you guys know if anything else changes. Fingers crossed, though, that we get these Scoundrel's Leathers buff, because that item, I really want to make a build around it, but it's still pretty bad. Unfortunately, no update with that. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.